Hi, welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. First of all, I've just been watching Arsene Wenger's press conference this morning, and very interesting. You know what? One thing I have to say about Arsene Wenger, he's very skilled, very good at answering questions. He always answers the questions, and was really getting grilled by the media today on various different things to do with the defeat last week, to do with transfers. A couple of interesting things that came out of it. One of them is that he said that it's not his money when it comes to the transfer market, which was very funny when he said that. It's not his money, obviously something that's levelled at him a lot of times. He also said there are two markets, he said, one for the English clubs and one for the others. English clubs can suffocate themselves. They have to pay massive wages. Even when the players go out, they have to pay half of their wages. That means over a longer period, the advantage of the English clubs will drop. And I think what he was talking about basically there was the fact that if you get it wrong in the transfer market, you can end up with players on very high wages that you find very hard to shift. Manchester City, are the example of that at the moment, where they've got players they obviously want to get rid of, but nobody can pay those sort of wages. The players are not going to leave for those sort of wages, so they sort of lumbered with them. And he was also talking about the fact that he doesn't want to pay massive money on average players. So that's what he was making, the point that there's a lot of players out there available at the moment, but a lot of them are average players, and he doesn't want to pay massive wages and massive transfer fees on average players. He's not against paying massive fees for top quality players, but he doesn't want to pay that on average players. And of course, we've all, we're playing Leicester this week, of course, and Vardy snubbed us. And now yesterday, the news that Riyad Mahrez has signed a new contract. Now, is that another snub by another Leicester player, or is it a snub or not a snub? I mean, Arsene Wenger was asked about it, Mahrez, were we interested in him? He said that he doesn't want to talk about any individual players. There's something that he said for nearly every player he was asked about, Mustafi, etc. But was it a snub? Or was it that we were never in for him? My personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, is that we were interested in getting Riyad Mahrez, and that Mahrez obviously was, thinking about a move to Arsenal. But he's now signed a new contract, and a new 4-year deal with Leicester, and that's done. So that he's definitely not going to be one of those players that's joining Arsenal. Very unfortunate for an Arsenal fan called Assad Balal, who went out and got Mahrez printed on the back of his shirt when all the links came out. Listen, the lesson to learn from that is never ever jump the gun on these things. Nobody knows whether these deals are going to get done or not. But Mahrez, whether it's a snub or not a snub, is staying at Leicester, which again means that another high-profile target that would link with Arsenal is not going to be coming. And one of the things in the press conference that was spoken about was the fact that the question put to Arsene Wenger was that Thierry Henry had said that some of the top players is like they're not looking to come to Arsenal no more. It's not as an attractive place as once before, which Arsene Wenger refuted that, and even went as far as a little dig at Thierry Henry to say that some, even ex-players, want to come back to Arsenal, and even Thierry Henry's been one of them. So, but snub or no snub, I don't know, but certainly, again, with the way in which the transfer market's going, it's embarrassing for Arsenal that Mahrez decides to stay. Vardy decided to stay. Whether it's true or not, just because of our inactivity, it seems like it's a snub. And that's just the reality of what's been going on. The other one is Lacazette. Wenger was asked about Lacazette at a press conference. Again, he said he doesn't want to talk about any individual player. Reading yesterday in the French media, a website called Get French Football spoke to the Lyon manager, Bruno Genesio, and they asked him about Lacazette if he's going to be leaving, and the manager said, he goes, there's no uncertainty with the regards to Alexander Lacazette. He needs to feel loved. He is and he will stay at Lyon. So that is what he's saying. Contradicts a little bit what Lacazette was saying the other day. That Lacazette was saying that if there's big offers that come in, he doesn't want to refuse those offers. So again, it's one we're going to have to wait and see what happens. And again, is this, when Arsene Wenger talks about not paying mega fees for average players, does Lacazette fall into that category? I really don't know. I mean, Wenger spoke about, listen, he's not scared to pay over the odds, and he understands that you've got to pay over the odds for a player, but he's only going to do that if the player he feels is of the quality that deserves that. So does Lacazette fall into that category is something that we're going to find out over the next couple of weeks before the transfer window closes. But at the moment, Lyon's manager saying that Lacazette will not be sold. We'll see. We will wait and see on that one. Another player that was linked to Arsenal that has turned us down apparently, and that a lot of fans are happy about if it's true, is Johnny Evans. Now, Johnny Evans, defender for West Bromwich Albion. The Sun claimed that West Bromwich Albion will reject any bids coming from Arsenal for the player. They want to keep hold of him at all costs. They don't want to sell him, even though apparently Arsenal are willing to pay 16 million for him, and they only bought him for 6 million, and that would be a profit to West Brom of 10 million. West Brom do not want to sell Johnny Evans, so it appears that Johnny Evans will be staying, and a lot of Arsenal fans out there are going, yeah, good. What about Jose Jimenez? Now, this is a much better defender here. Very highly rated Uruguayan, plays for Atletico Madrid. He's rated at £40 million, a youngster. Now, we understand here from coming out of some of the outlets over there in Spain, and also the Mail are going hard on this one. They're saying that Arsenal are interested in, buying Jimenez, but they're not they're stalling over the valuation. They think the valuation for him is very high at £40 million. They think that's too much money. Listen, Jimenez is a very, very highly rated centre-back. I'd be very, very surprised, again, with this one, if Atletico Madrid will sell Jimenez. I mean, Jimenez is sort of the guy that they're looking to for the future to take over from Godin. Godin's beginning to knock on, remember, in age, even though he's still quality. But Jimenez is the guy that they're sort of building up to take over from Godin. And I'd be really surprised if they sold Jimenez to Arsenal. But there's a link today, but I'm a bit unsure about this one. I really can't see that happening. Also linked to another centre-back, this time who plays for Monaco, goes by the name of Marcel Tisserand. He was on loan at Toulouse last season. He's been linked with Arsenal before. Now, he's a centre-back who can also play in the right-back position, and Arsenal said to be interested in him. They're obviously gathering lots of alternatives in case the Mustafi deal doesn't happen. And as I said, he was asked about Mustafi at the press conference, didn't want to speak about the Mustafi deal. But this is another guy that's being lined up as a possibility that Arsenal could sign if they can't get the player that they want, which is Mustafi. And on Mustafi, it still seems to be stalling, whether it's over money, whatever it's stalling over. It's very frustrating at the moment. Arsene Wenger spoke again in the press conference about the difficulty in getting players because clubs know that the English clubs have got loads and loads of money, so they just push the prices up. As I said, he said the prices for teams abroad is different to the prices here. But then I suppose, listen, we have to get over that because they know we've got loads of money. So, you can't blame them. You just cannot blame any of those clubs over there for thinking that way. But the Mustafi deal, still lingering on, still not done. Hopefully going to get done, but there was nothing in the press conference from Arsene Wenger to say that, yes, the deal's imminent, or yes, he'll be signing by the weekend. He just refused to talk about it. So, again, that deal has not been done. And that's a bit worrying that it's still lingering on, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that whole Mustafi deal. Serge Gnabry, very interestingly, was mentioned in the press conference. He's been doing brilliantly, and congratulations to him. Germany through to the final of the Olympics, and Serge Gnabry has been one of the best players in the tournament, has been absolutely exceptional. He scored goals, and a brilliant assist yesterday in the game. And Hertha Berlin are apparently very interested in either purchasing him or taking him on loan. Arsene Wenger was asked about the 21-year-old's future today, and he's come out and said, listen, we want to keep Serge Gnabry at Arsenal. He's like, we've stood by him when he went out on loan to West Brom and it was very unsuccessful. He's come back, we've stood by him, and we want to give him a new contract. We want to keep him at Arsenal Football Club. And listen, Serge Gnabry's been, he's been playing exceptional. I mean, we're talking about Mahrez, and it was a lot of discussion right for all the Mahrez debate is, do we actually need Mahrez? Because we've got so many wide players, and Serge Gnabry's one that we haven't even been mentioning. He's another one, and he's been really proving his worth over there in the Olympics. But despite the rumours linking him to Hertha Berlin, Arsene Wenger saying that he wants to keep Serge Gnabry. So we won't know about that until he comes back to the club and we get to find out a bit more. Rumours were going around yesterday about Alisher Usmanov, the second highest shareholder on the Arsenal board, that he was prepared to sell up his stake in Arsenal, go to Everton, join his colleague there who's taken over Everton, and then, the worrying thing there would be that then he can then splash his huge amount of cash that he's got on Everton and possibly turn them into a super club when we've had this guy on our board and we've not, used him and, used his money and let him take over. And it was causing big consternation on Twitter, on all the social media platforms. There was these lots of stuff coming about Kroenke out, and they got back this story where Kroenke said that he didn't buy the club to win things. All that stuff all came about again because of mass hysteria sort of over this whole Usmanov thing. But a source close to Usmanov has apparently come out and said that it is not true. Usmanov does not want to sell up his stake. James Ollie, journalist, reporting that today, that he does not want to sell his stake in Arsenal Football Club and that he's got no intentions of going to Everton. So hoping that's true. There's still a lot of fans who would love for Usmanov to take charge of Arsenal because they believe that he would give Arsenal the funds that they need. He would give us the unlimited spending power that some of the other clubs have. But it doesn't look like Usmanov is on his way to Everton. And finally, we did a poll yesterday. Jose Font, another player that's been linked with Arsenal. Would he be good? Would he be a good signing for Arsenal? I wouldn't say the fans are overly convinced on it. 58% of you said yes, it would be a good signing. 42% of you said, nah, we don't want Jose Font. He's been linked with Manchester United as well, by the way. But not over, the majority of people would have him, but it's not what you want. Fans, I think they want Mustafi, but unfortunately, after the press conference today, still no news on that deal, still no news on any deal, and it's still very frustrating. What do you guys think of Arsene Wenger's press conference? Leave it in the comments below. It's all about bouncing back this week. I'm trying to be positive because all this transfer stuff has just been getting me down. This has been getting fans down. There could be nothing greater this weekend than for Arsenal to go out there and get a win against Leicester and get us on track. And we're well capable of doing it. That would be so good if we could do that this weekend. Let's hope we do. Thanks for watching today, and we'll be back around about the same time tomorrow.